Hey, welcome to the photo scene. We have Imagery by Lu here, Lewis. We're so excited to have him on, and we're so excited to jump on this podcast. Lewis, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you started? Like, give us all the deets.
Hey, Josie and Vanya, thank you guys for having me
Hi,
on your podcast. I
everyone.
am super excited. Um, Everyone, my name's Lou. I was born and raised in the US Virgin Islands. Lived there all my life, moved to Florida straight out of high school. Um, Before photography, my passion have been cars and kind of still is. Take a backseat a little bit, but I've always been a big car guy. And couple years ago, I used to go to a lot of car shows and I used to ask all my friends for pictures of my car so that way I can post it on social media. Of course, you
Yeah.
want good quality pictures to show that your car looks good and all that kind of stuff. So I I got to a point where I got tired of just asking my friends for pictures. I didn't want them to get the for them to think that I was just using them for pictures. So I decided to go to Best Buy and pick up a Canon T6 Rebel and had no idea
Canon.
what I was doing. I
Yeah.
had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I just bought this camera and said, "Hey, I'm gonna learn, as I go." So I bought the camera, jumped on YouTube, started learning the basics. Otto was my friend at the time. Not gonna lie.
How often did
um,
you listen to YouTube videos to like learn? Like, were you like spending hours per night, or like how much
I
time were
was so at that time I was working two jobs. So I would get home from work like usually like 9, 10 o'clock, and I would jump on YouTube like at least an hour every night, and I would just look at different videos, um, aperture, focal lengths, because at the time I had a kit lens. I didn't
doing?
know what I needed. I was just kind of like just learning the ropes and behind the scenes and stuff like that. And any chance I got, I was on YouTube. YouTube is who got me to where I'm at right now.
It's YouTube
Yeah.
Um,
Academy. That's what my
exactly.
husband likes to call it.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I still turn to YouTube now, and I'm like, how do you do this?
Absolutely.
So so yeah, I started doing car photography, taking pictures of my car. I did that for a few months, and then a lot of my friends were shooting models. They were getting into shooting models. So of course, from cars, I followed them and
That's
started
the
doing
natural
models.
progression, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Cars to models. They're similar. They're similar.
Yeah, I'm
so
so
I started doing models and stuff like that, and it just it wasn't my thing. The cars, yeah, because that was my passion. Models, I was giving it a shot, and I just couldn't get the hang of it. The whole posing and all that stuff, like I was struggling really, really bad. um to a point where I was like, well, you know what, I tried it, it's not my thing, what else can I do?
Right.
um and then at the time I was following a lot of wedding photographers on social media, so I was like, well, let me look into weddings. So I went that route. I
so you
deleted
jumped right
everything
in
off.
from cars to wanting to shoot weddings.
Yes, big jump, right?
Yeah.
That's a
So
huge jump.
yeah, can you tell I had no idea what I was doing?
It's okay. Keep going. You're inspiring.
so yeah, I said, okay, I want to be a wedding photographer. So I started looking into wedding photography and started following all these amazing wedding photographers in Orlando. And you know I reached out to a wedding photographer and I said, hey, I want to get into it, how can I get into it? And they basically said, well, first you need to start shooting couples. So I said, okay, I started going on Instagram and just DMing couples. I was searching people, see if they were in a relationship, and like, giving the whole, speech like, hey, I'm Lou, I'm starting off, would you be available to do a free session? And I did that for months. And each session I tried different things. I got better at certain things. I started to see what I like and what I didn't like,
Yeah.
and that's pretty what started, the whole couples stuff for
Yeah,
me.
that's
I
crazy.
remember, yeah, I remember I did a I did a session with this couple, and throughout this session, the boyfriend, or now husband, but he reached out to me. He was like, "So, what do you like about couples? Doing couple photography?" And I was like, I like the connection. I like the feeling, everything. And then he turned around and he says, "Well, what do you like about weddings? Why do you want to be a wedding photographer?" And I honestly didn't have an answer for that. I like the connection between two individuals, and I was just, I guess, trying to go the wedding route because everybody I following was doing weddings. And he said, "Well, after we had that conversation, and I told him, I really can't give you an answer." He said, "Well, I do video for a wedding company." He's like, his brother owns a wedding company, whatever. And I told him, I would like to give it a shot and see, how it is. And a couple months went by, and he reached out to me. Excuse me?
You wanted to give videography a shot, or?
No, I wanted to give photography, wedding photography a shot. So he reached out to me a couple months after. He says, "Hey Lou, my brother's doing a wedding. Our second shooter isn't, able to come. Do you want to come, and do it?" And of course I was like, "Yeah, let's go." It was all the way in St. Augustine. I drove all the way up there, and I absolutely failed. I went into it super unprepared. I didn't know
What makes
Flash.
you think that you failed? How did you fail? What makes you think?
Well, I would say I failed in the aspect that, I was really unprepared. I was a natural light photographer. I did everything outdoors. Here it is. I show up to a venue that's indoors. Had no experience with Flash. I didn't even own a Flash, to be honest with you. So I went throughout the wedding, everything. At the end, gave my card, everything, and he's like, "Hey, thank you so much." And I was like, "Hey, thank you for the opportunity." And I remember driving home. It was like a 2-hour drive home, and on my way home, I was like, "That's the beginning and end of my wedding career."
Well, that's a quick way to learn right there. That's a really quick way.
So I, time went on, and I regrouped, and I was like, okay, so maybe weddings isn't my thing, just from that one experience, because I, like I said, I wasn't prepared for it. I said, okay, well, I'm going to continue doing my couples session. I reached out to different couples. I went along saying, hey, I do engagement sessions. I was doing all that kind of stuff, and it went really. I started to get better at what I was doing. Learning more. Building more of a community with different photographers. I was at that point, I was actually having photographers that saw what I was doing, and they were like willing to give me pointers at that point. They're like, "Hey, try doing this, try doing that." And taking constructive criticism and applying it to what I really wanted to do. And time went on, and then fast forward to where I'm at now.
So tell us a little bit about like the intimate side, because I really like, this is so amazing finally talking to you and meeting you, because I've always like followed and liked your work, and it's like, who is this guy? This is really like, this is very niche. Like this is very niche. Like,
like how did you niche into that?
I really enjoy like that, like such intimate, like you have to be such a cool, like comfortable person to be around to like get those couples to do what they do on your camera. Like it's crazy.
I'm with you, Vanya.
Yeah. I was scrolling Instagram, and I actually came across an intimate session, and the photographer was Chewy Photos. And it was the first time I had actually ever seen anything like it. So I was really intrigued, because I was like, you remember, I was at that point where I tried weddings, and I was like, no, and then I was just doing the engagement sessions and all that kind of stuff. So I was really like lost. I didn't know where to go. I knew I wanted to do couples, but just didn't know what. And following, I followed Chewy for a while, and I liked his work, everything. And I reached out to him on Instagram. Actually, I sent him a message, and he responded. And I just basically told him, like, hey, I really love your work. It's unique, it's different. and just kind of like conversate back and forth a little bit. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna give that a shot. So I had some friends. I took one of Chewy photos. I screenshot it and I showed it to my friends, and I was like,
Here we
hey,
go.
I was like, I want
What did
to
it
do
look
something
like?
like
What was the
this.
photo exactly?
Yeah, I want to know. That's so
Yeah.
funny.
What did you
So-
see that you liked about it? You're like, yeah, that's hot. I want to try something like that. Like, what was your thought process?
So
What did it look like?
so basically, the picture was two couples, really intimate, really close.
Yeah.
There was a lot of emotion in the pictures. So I remember seeing that emotion, and I was like, I wanna capture that. And I showed it to my friends, and I was like, hey, what you guys think about this? And me being nervous, not knowing what they would say, because it's different, it's intimacy.
That's
A
the
lot of
hardest
people
part,
aren't
I
open
think,
to it.
is approaching someone with that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I
hey,
reached
will you
out to
get
them and I was
sexy
like,
for me?
basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they actually said yes. So I did the session with them, and it went really well. I was nervous throughout the whole session. I didn't know how to pose them because I didn't know what was okay. I didn't know what was too much.
Right.
I kind of had a vision of what I wanted, but at the same time, being new to something like that, telling someone like, okay, I want you guys to kiss this way. Hey, I want you to grab this part. You know what I mean? Like it's very, in the beginning, I was nervous. I was
weird
scared.
asking them that, like, hey, will you grab her butt? Like, just smash it. Or like, how do you say it? How do you say it?
Do you have special wording for these?
I want to know the details. Give me the
so
throw it out there.
So I have in the beginning it was very nerve-wracking, but now I say hand placement a lot. And I give my speech in the beginning. I'm like, I'm gonna say hand placement. When I say hand placement, basically I want you to have fun with your hands.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's how I kind of get around that. So I don't, sometimes I might be like, hey, grab a butt cheek or squeeze a butt cheek or, stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm always like, show me hand placement, just have fun with your hands. And I let my couples run wild, and I just capture them in a moment.
That's cool.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
There's one particular photo where he's kind of grabbing her in the little V spot. Like, how did you?
Yes, I know exactly what photo you're talking about.
What did you say?
I was like, dang.
Is that the one where you just kind of let them go? Like, hey, move your hands around a lot. Like, is that what happened?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So how I approach each session is I try and go into it with the aspect of not doing anything posed, because I feel like posed pictures, you could kind of tell it's posed. It doesn't look authentic, so I kind of put them in a scene and I just say, hey, have fun. You know what I mean? I just kind of let them be themselves, be in the moment. And as they're in the moment, I just kind of do my thing. I just, run around, focus on some stuff and just shoot, and
you're just documenting.
Do you ever have to tell them to tone it down a little bit? Like, hey, I'm getting uncomfortable.
I'm getting uncomfortable as a photographer. Slow it down.
So in the beginning, I was like, I would get really shy and I'd be like, oh, okay, guys, like, can we do something else? But yes, I have been in situations where I'm like, okay, I can tell it's getting really, really hot, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna try something else. Okay, let's try this. You know what I mean? Let's change it up a little bit. Yeah. So that's how I kind of handle that situation, but there are a lot of times where there's a lot of times where it gets really, really spicy, and I'm like, guys, I'm still here. Like, hey. But that makes for good pictures. You know what I mean? Like, like I think of it like, when you're in a moment, you don't see yourself in the moment. You know what I mean? So if I can provide a space for them to actually be in the moment and document it and then show them afterwards, they're like, oh my gosh, that's us. Like, oh my gosh, babe, we look so good,
Yeah. I love that. It's really, it's like what you're doing is like you're just allowing them to feel comfortable and you're documenting that. And I just think that's so cool. That's like such a gift to have that like kind of energy to be able to
Yeah.
go to a photo shoot and like have people be so comfortable that they're in their most intimate moment with you, you know? And I think that's such a gift. So that's really awesome. And I think that probably sets you a lot apart from the competition, you know, because it is so natural and it is not posed at all. Like everything you shoot, I feel like is so just flowy and natural. And I would never think that you were posing them. So I love that about it. Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us like a little bit about like you're working a full-time job right now or part-time?
Full time.
Full-time. Okay. And you are still photograph, like I assume you're doing it on the weekends, like just nighttime,
Yes.
weekends. Hey, okay.
Yes. So
tell us how
I,
to kind of how that's going for you. Like, how are you feeling about
that sounds
that?
like a lot.
it is a lot. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
I come to work, I do anywhere between 8 to 10 hours a day, and then I go home, and then I
Oh my
also have a
goodness.
daughter, I have a family, so
Oh my
you
goodness.
know I got family time. Then I'm trying to like sneak in an hour or two of editing in between, and it's a lot,
Yeah.
and in the beginning I was doing it very wrong because I was just focusing all on photography and kind of throwing my family to the back burner, like when you're
We're all
starting something
guilty of
new and you
that.
just dive
Yeah.
you just dive all in because that's
Yes.
all you're focusing.
Yes.
So
um yeah, and it took me a while to really like catch on to it, like, hey, I mean, you have a family, so I started blocking off. I work Monday to Friday. I would shoot primarily on Saturdays, and then Sundays would just be family day,
Okay.
and
That's good that
that's
you're
pretty
making.
much.
great. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I've been kind of doing that for a while now, and it's been working out. Everyone's happy, so
Good.
that's
Yeah.
good. But yeah, it's very overwhelming, especially with behind the scenes stuff. You can show up and do a session, yay, everything went well, but then you go home, you have to call, you have to edit, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it is overwhelming, and not every day I go home from work and I want to sit behind a computer,
Yeah.
so
Mm-mm.
That's everybody.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's stressful, but
Yeah.
I'm making it happen
Good. So
somehow.
how long have you been photographing now?
I started, I want to say like mid 2017, so
Okay.
maybe like summer of 2017.
Okay.
I've been doing couples since, I want to say maybe like 2019.
2019.
Okay.
Okay. That's a
Wow.
good
I
amount
thought
of
you've
time.
been doing this way longer. Just
I know. I could have
No.
guessed longer.
cohesive. Your work is very
Yeah.
cohesive. Your editing, your lighting, it's all very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just
So,
putting in the work,
yeah. Are you like hoping, like, are you wanting to go full time with photography? Is that like your dream? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, do you care that much to like, I mean, some people are just so happy, like they're completely content doing it part-time. So that's why I ask. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like do you ever think about going full time too?
yes, I do think about going full time. Right now, my current position with my job, I have bust my butt all these years to get where I'm at right now. That for me to just walk away from it, I don't think it's the right time.
right.
Um, so I do want to go full time, but not yet. Right now I am working, I'm balancing both my full-time job and my photography. So I'm kind of finding the balance between them. So I'm just doing both.
Yeah.
I guess as long as I can, what I mean? If it comes to a point where, my photography business is really, really, too much for me, then at that time I might consider, hey, is it worth it at this time to step away from my day job and go full time? But for
Right.
right now, I am doing both. I am handling both, and just having fun with it.
Yeah.
That's good. That's what you should be doing. I feel like that's
That's
such,
the best transition.
that's awesome that you are able to balance. I just feel like so many people get stuck in this like frozen mode of like, oh my gosh, like I gotta make this like dream happen now, that I gotta go full time now. Like you just have this like now perception. And like what people don't
Yes.
realize is like it takes time. Like you have to integrate like things into that, and like full-time might not be the answer for you. You might get there and then it might not be like everything you thought it was going to be, because you realize how much time you're dedicating to full-time now, instead of like, you know, like you go to a job right now and you probably don't, I mean, I'm just assuming this, but do you have to take your work home with you?
Yeah,
Like,
no, my
yeah.
job ends when I leave.
Right. So
You
you
know,
go to, right. And like with full time, it's like you have to take you, there's a price to pay, you know, with taking on something
yeah,
like, okay, well, now I'm, you know, taking all this work home with me and, you know, just taking on a lot of responsibility. So I'm glad that you're able to find the balance in that. So
yeah.
let's talk about like a little bit about what's like your biggest struggle right now. Like, what do you feel like with either photography or business? Like, what are you feeling right now is like your biggest issue?
My biggest issue, I would say, is one, knowing my worth, and
Mm,
also pricing. You
mm,
know, I've spoken to a lot of different photographers, and it just boils down to, you know, my niche in this market. It's
Right.
only me. You know what I mean? So whereas you can turn to a wedding photographer and say, "Hey, what are your prices like?" And you could kind of like, you know, pick and make you, you know, put yourself where you want to be
mhm,
in the niche I'm in. It's like I don't have, you know, it's just me, you know. So when I first started, you know, I was priced really, really low because I thought that's what I was worth, you know.
Yeah.
And as time went on and I, you know, became better at my craft, and you know, having friends that really like push me, like, bro, like you're really good, like, you know,
mhm.
you're worth more than that, you know. And just kind of building the self-confidence to
Yeah.
say, okay, yeah, I'm worth this price, you
Right.
know. And I still struggle with it now because, you know, I know where I want to be,
Mm,
but mentally I'm like, okay, do I really want to go there? Because, you know, what if, you know, people stop booking me, you know? So it's like what do I do? Do I stay comfortable and just keep doing what I'm doing, or do I just take the jump and say, hey, you know, this is Imagery by Lu, this is it, you know, and then see what goes. You
right.
know, so that's the big you know, that's where I'm at, where, you know, it changes every week. You
Yeah.
know, this week might be a good week and I'm like, yeah, I'm the best, you know.
Yeah.
And then
I
next week
totally-
comes and I'm like, oh man, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we all
We all
struggle with
feel
that, you
like
know. It's
that.
like we've all been there. You come to that fork in the road and you really like you really battle a lot with, you know, self-confidence and knowing your worth. And I feel like a lot of us do that. And we've all struggled with that, right? It's like, and it's hard on us because you know, it's like we kind of know what we're worth, right? Like deep
yeah,
down, like we know our
yeah, we
value,
know.
but we're
Yeah,
afraid that other people are going to not see that value or reject us
exactly.
or, you know, not book us, like you were saying. But I think it comes down to also just being okay with people saying no, you know, and being
Yes,
getting over that rejection. Nobody likes to be
yes,
rejected, but you have to get over it, like especially with raising your prices. It's like don't I just feel like people, we tie on our value with pricing too much and we take it so personal as artists. And
yes,
I just, you have to be able to accept, you know, people saying no. And it's okay. And it has nothing to do with your value. It has nothing to do with what kind of photographer or person you are. It has nothing to do with that. People are going to say no. That's just the fact, you know?
yeah,
So I think that is the hugest, I think that's a huge thing to get in the mindset of and just get over that hump, you know, but it's a hard thing, right? It is.
it's super hard.
Well, it's
Yeah.
definitely a transition to go from one price to another, and you're going to weed out that market that you were marketing to before, and you're going to go into a higher marketing bracket. And the people that are willing to spend more, if they see your prices at a lower rate, they're going to be like, why are their prices lower? And then they start looking around because they have an idea in their head what their budget is, you know? So that's another thing too to consider.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And I like I said, you know, it's like I know where I want to be. It's just how fast do I want to get there?
The good
Hmm.
news
You know?
is that you're the only one in your niche. And you're the only one in Florida that I would know of. So that makes it even easier for you to raise your rates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
like, honestly, if I were you, I would like, you are so niche with the intimate couples thing. Like, my immediate thoughts were to, I know this is scary too, but to take all the other stuff away, like literally just focus on the boudoir and couples and really niche down. And then I feel like that is such a boutique thing because you're not all over the place doing everything. And then you can actually, people will be like, oh, his prices are this way because this is what he specializes in. This is it, So I feel like that it just gives you a little bit more like, oh, like, okay, like he's the one, like this is the price that I'm gonna have to pay because he's the only one. So so I think that might be helpful.
Yeah, and I've been doing that for the past couple months. I've actually, I finally came to terms like, hey, I'm just gonna do intimate sessions, and I have a lot of people that reach out and they're like, hey, we want to do a family session. I'm like, that's just not my thing. You know what I mean? Like, hey, do you do newborns? I love your work. Do you do newborns? I'm like, that's not my thing.
Really?
I kid you not.
That's very funny to me.
I have people that ask me for these things, and I'm like, I don't do that. You know?
I mean, that just goes to show. I mean, that's good that you can actually step away with it, because I guess I would feel like, no, I mean, there's no problem. There's no reason why you couldn't take those jobs. You just don't post it. Like, don't post it on your, like, don't, if you don't want more of it, do not show it. Right. Like, because you're still going to get those, like those odd jobs. Like, people, I mean, I'm not a family photographer. I'm not a wedding photographer, but I still get inquiries for families and weddings all the time. So it doesn't stop you from getting those other things. It's just do you have the time? Do you want to, like that? It comes down to that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
yeah. and then it's like, so I've tried everything, right? I've done family, I've done it all. And it's just like, I can take on those jobs if I wanted to, but when I go to edit, I don't have the drive. It doesn't really, it doesn't really light my fire. So it's like, I'll just let it sit there on the SD card for a while, because I don't, it's not my thing. So it's like, why put myself in? Why put myself in that situation? You know what I mean? Especially since I don't have the time. So I have to be really, I have to pick, what I want to do, so that way I can focus 100% on it and give 100%. So that's how I handle that.
Good. Well, I think you're on the right track. I do, because I think that, even though you have this like little pricing issue, I honestly think that it's also a timing thing. It's not the right time for everybody at, a certain moment, and it is a little bit of a mindset issue too. But I don't know, is there anything else you can think of, like why, like what would help you be able to raise your prices? Like, do you know what that thing is, or are you just kind of like, I don't know, I could do it. It was just my mindset or anything? No.
It's at the end of the day, it's all a mindset thing. Honestly, it's just me saying, this is what it is. And just going after it. Everyone has that little fear. You have that little voice that's like, do it, and you have the voice that's like, what if? So it's just me, just putting my mind to it and just saying, hey, this is what it is. Let's go.
Well, you have, I think it all starts with awareness first, right? Because if you don't know the problem, you can't possibly get to a different place either. So it all starts with being aware. And if you're aware of it, then eventually you'll get to a place where you can feel, more confident because you're aware of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Do you have any questions for Josie or I? Oh, there goes my camera. Do you want to pause it for a second, Josie?
Yeah.
This is a good time to pause. Hold on.
So, Vanya and Josie, my question for you guys would be, what's one piece of advice you can give to a photographer that's just starting out? What would you tell them?
I think we should both do our own little thing.
Yeah. You can go first if you want. Either way.
I always tell people the same thing because somebody told me this once and it worked for me. Somebody told me when I first started, she was a photographer, and she was like, hey, if you spend 1 hour a day on your business, because I was also like you, Lewis, working a full-time job, 9 to 5. I had 2 small children, and I would learn at night. Like, I would get on and learn. But she was like, if you spend 1 hour every day on your business doing something, setting up something, your website, no matter what it is, you're gonna progress and you're gonna get better. And I never forgot she said that. And I definitely used her advice. And if I was going to talk back to the old me, I would say definitely spend more time than an hour, maybe a little bit more time. And that's it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Vanya, what kind of advice do you have?
I feel like that's just such like, I feel like I don't know. That's a tough question, but
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. It's changed so many times over the years. And I guess I'm just kind of thinking about like myself when I was, just starting out as a photographer. And I think what I would say is that you gotta just jump in. And even though you are going to be super uncomfortable, sometimes that's a sign to just step into that, lean into that uncomfortable feeling of new experiences and feeling uncomfortable, because there were so many times I felt uncomfortable. Like didn't feel like I was cut out to be a photographer. Didn't feel like I could direct people. I didn't feel like confident enough to like be a photographer or like be the one in control. And I had to step into like, I had to lean into that uncomfortable, and I had to lean into my fears, and I had to like overcome so much of that. And a lot of it was mindset. So I am so passionate about working on like ourselves as humans and personal growth and development, because I feel like that, if anything, is going to get you so much farther than like just the technical business stuff, because I feel like so much of what we deal with and what holds us back is our mindset and our fears and feeling that uncomfortable feeling. So I think just diving in and being okay with being, having that fear, letting it guide us.
That was awesome, Vanya.
That was dope. Yeah.
Lewis, we would love to know where we can find you, like your Instagram handle, your Pinterest or Facebook or whatever you want to give us.
You can find me on Instagram at Imagery by Lu. Also, I have a Facebook page, don't use it much. And also you can check out my website, imagerybylu.com.
Perfect. And you can find it all in the show notes too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. We so enjoyed talking to you, and it was so great to finally meet you. We both are such fans of your work. So we enjoyed every single second of us, and we would love to have you on again after, like you've gotten to your next level and see how it's going. We want to hear you in the future.
Yes, let's go.
That's awesome. Hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, all in the right time. It'll all come in the right time.
I agree.
So if you guys found this podcast helpful, you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our newsletter to find out more. We do this weekly. Yeah. And leave us a comment. If you have questions, reach out. We're human. We're here. We don't bite. We're here. I mean, sometimes, but okay. All right. Have a good day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.